Young ladies and gentlemen, good morning or good evening to all of you. Once again, you are very welcome here on your beloved platform, The Awakening of Consciousness Tribune. In international news headlines, France is extremely upset with the Senegalese authorities. And what angers France is that Senegal, whose president is democratically elected, is willing to collaborate with Burkina Faso, whose president, according to France, is not democratically elected. France is very uncomfortable witnessing the growing closeness that is developing between Senegal and Burkina Faso, and especially between Senegal and the AES countries. So, France uses its media, the media that has served as its main tool of domination and colonization for a very long time, this media known as RFI. As you know, RFI has always been the tool used by France to lull Africans' consciousness. Because what many people don't realize is that there is a special news broadcast for Africa and another one for the rest of the world. The information we see in Africa is not broadcast on the other side. So RFI has been used to denounce what France calls an attack on democracy. That is to say, Senegal, which is considered a model of democracy, should not collaborate with Burkina Faso, which in reality is not an example of democracy and might risk pulling Senegal toward other practices, and so on, and so on. What exactly is France saying? And listen closely. The PASTEF party, whose leaders are in power, made sure to respond to France. So, please share this video conference as much as possible. Share it. Give it lots of likes before we dive deeper. Give it lots of likes. You see, their strategy has always been divide and rule. That's their goal. To divide Africans so they can rule over them. When Emmanuel Macron receives a Syrian putschist at the Elysee, RFI doesn't mention it. They don't say anything. But when it's a fraternal African visit, when African compatriots visit the president of the revolution, the leader of the revolution, the president of Faso, when it's that kind of visit, yes, then there's plenty of ink and saliva spilled over it. Share this video conference to show the world the true face of France. Let's go. What does RFI say? RFI says, criticism is being voiced about Ousmane Sonko's trip to Burkina Faso. Criticism is being voiced in Senegal. But in reality, there is no criticism in Senegal. There isn't any. Senegalese people are proud to see Africans joining hands. RFI says, following a friendship and working visit that Ousmane Sonko made to Burkina Faso in Ouagadougou on Friday, May 16th and Saturday, May 17th, 2025. During his trip, the two countries emphasized the importance of strengthening their cooperation, particularly in the areas of security and the economy. That is what the two countries emphasized. But that's what hurts France. And do you know why? France says that it's the Senegalese who are criticizing. That's false. It's they themselves who are making things up, who want to speak on behalf of the Senegalese. Yes, and they have paid certain so-called members of Senegalese civil society to stand up and say a few words in their favor. Watch very closely. What are they afraid of? That the true virus of the Burkinabe revolution will spread to Senegal, because as long as Ibrahim Traoré collaborates with Ousmane Sonko, France will be permanently driven out of Senegal. The contracts that France holds in Senegal, all those contracts will be terminated. And that's what Senegal does not want. I said Senegal is what France does not want. Their policy has always been to divide and rule, as we mentioned earlier. So, what does France say? It says that within Senegalese civil society and the opposition, people fear a complete legitimization of the Burkinabe authorities, who came to power through a coup d'etat. Look, they're lying. RFI says that in Senegal, within civil society and the opposition, people fear that this cooperation could serve as total legitimization of the authority established in Burkina Faso. Is it up to Senegal to legitimize the government in Faso? The government in Faso is already legitimate. It is the people who legitimize. It is the Burkinabe people. So, this relationship between the two countries is simply cooperation, and that's completely normal. It's normal. And what about France, which received a terror leader at the Elysee? What about that? Did RFI talk about it? Dear colleagues in Africa, it's time for us to open our eyes. It's time for us to open our eyes and to keep fighting fiercely against these people. They are doing something even worse. And yet we think that what we're doing isn't even serious. And then they think that what we're doing is something very dangerous. What about Emmanuel Macron, who received the head of the Syrian breeding grounds at the Elysee Palace? What about Donald Trump, who traveled to meet him? Come on, let's be serious in Africa. Let's be serious. I see some people supporting France. Let's be serious. If Senegal collaborates with Burkina, that's actually a very good thing, because we Africans need to stay united. Let's go. Let's continue with the information. The executive, Ito and Pasteni, believe that it is precisely by going to Ouagadougou that things can move forward, and not by continuing to enforce ECOWAS's policy of isolation. Yes, the Senegalese authorities and the PASTEF party have responded to France. After all, we need to interact. We need to engage with each other to solve the problems in our sub-region. But it's not by enforcing ECOWAS's policy of isolation, a policy of isolation that is dictated by France. Really, the time has come for Africans to open their eyes. And I'm very happy to see that many of our African brothers that have their eyes open. Yes, many are starting to understand things. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is the criticism that France is making. Trying to make the world believe that it is the Senegalese people who are voicing these criticisms. Senegal considers Burkina Faso a brother country. Senegalese people admire the patriotic determination of Comrade President Ibrahim Traoré. So, France will be left with nothing but tears to shed. Wait and see. Thank you all very much. Thank you for sharing the video conference as much as possible. This was the voice of your one and only samurai.